I had so much fun with this video idea. Like, romance is such an amazing genre. It's fun, it's giddy, it gives you all of the emotions, and it's kind of a safe genre to read because we all know that every single rom-com is going to end with a happy ending. So you kind of have that security going into it. And I just had so much fun picking out romance books that I've been wanting to read for ages for this video, and I'm so excited to share them with you guys. Really quickly, I wanted to discuss some of my favorite romance books of all time. These are all my 6-star romance reads: Better Than the Movies, The Hating Game, and The Spanish Love Deception. I love these books. I would die for these books. I would die for these couples and these characters. They are just my favorite romance books of all time. If you can tell, I'm a bit of an enemies to lovers fan, just a little bit. Okay, a lot. I love enemies to lovers. I think it's the best romance trope of all time. I love it in fantasy books. I love it in contemporary romance books. But these are some of my favorites, just so that you have an idea of what type of books I like. And now let's discuss the books that I did read for this week's video. I decided to start my week off with a book that I've been wanting to read for so long. This is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is my very first Sarah Adams book, and it will definitely not be my last because, spoiler alert, I adored this book so much. It's got the friends to lovers trope, which, again, I'm not a huge friends to lovers fan. I do love Love and Other Words, though. That book was absolutely incredible, and it has the friends to lovers trope, but normally I'm not like someone who's looking for friends to lovers romance books. And this book also has fake dating, which is actually a trope that I adore. I love fake dating so much. And this has dual POV, it has mutual pining, and it's a sports romance, so it has a bunch of fun tropes. This book follows Bree Camden, who is our FMC, and she has been in love with her best friend Nathan, who is a football player. She's been in love with him since they were like 16 to 17, and now they're in their late 20s, and she has been trying to just maintain their platonic friendship. She's really been trying to not let him catch on to the fact that she has feelings for him, and something happens. This is a spoiler-free video, so I don't want to say what happens. But this situation does eventually prompt Nathan and Bree to enter into this fake dating, fake PR relationship, and the book gets so interesting from when they start the fake relationship, and you get so much adorable moments. I was highlighting so many quotes on my Kindle app throughout reading this book. That's when I know that I am loving a book, is when I just can't stop highlighting. And I just had such a blast with this story. It's so sweet, it's so wholesome, and it's just really well written. The writing feels very quirky and very adorable, and I've seen some reviews that say that they don't like when main characters who are in their late 20s or 30s act really immature, I guess you could say, but I didn't mind it, like, because this is just a fun little rom-com. I'm not going to be wanting to read about two super serious adults. Like, I loved how goofy they were. I loved how much they joked around. I thought it was absolutely adorable, and I just loved their relationship so much. This book is also closed door, no spice, so for all of my no spice girlies out there, you can definitely read this with comfortableness, knowing that there's no spicy scenes that you need to skip, only kissing in this book. And I'm very happy that there was no spice in this book, because it's such a sweet and wholesome romance that it felt like if there would have been spice in this, it would have just felt really out of place. So yeah, but you still get to feel that physical attraction between them regardless of that, and there's such a strong emotional connection as well. And this book does have a slight trigger warning, but it's as soon as you start the book you'll see the trigger warning, so I really appreciated that as well. I just absolutely adored this book. I loved the writing, I loved the characters, and it was just an absolute blast reading this. I ended up giving this book a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I just loved it so much. It didn't give me that 5-star or 6-star spark that I felt with other books, but not because there was anything wrong with this book at all. Like, I can't even pinpoint anything that I disliked about this book. It's just that it didn't give me those sparks, but 4.75 for sure. Absolutely adored it. This is one of the most hyped books on my TBR, on my romance TBR specifically, because of the way that people talk about this book and about this series. This is a very, very, very long romance book series. It has 10 books, and I just find that to be just amazing and also just crazy at the same time. But I know that the series does follow different characters. It's not just the same 2 characters. But I've heard so many people say that this book and series means everything to them. And so I was just so excited to find out what all the hype was about, to see if the hype was real with this book. And it follows the story of Lily and Lo. They've been friends forever, basically. And this book doesn't really have a concrete plot to it, at least not to me. Like, things definitely happen in this book, but it's not a concrete plot. You're basically just following the lives of Lily and Lo, who both have addictions. Lily has a very spicy addiction. She's addicted to spice. And Lo is an alcoholic, and they both cover for each other. So they're both pretending to be in this solid relationship. That way their families don't have to worry about them. Their families have no idea about their addictions. And Lily and Lo, because of the reason that they're the only people who know about each other's addictions, they really lean on each other, and they have just such a close bond with one another as well. I have mixed feelings about this book. I know I didn't go too much into depth about the synopsis, but again, it's not really like a plot heavy book. You're just mainly following these events and situations that Lily and Lo find themselves in. But this book was an interesting book. I'll say that. I am very happy that I finally read it and experienced it for myself, because if I never would have read it, then I would have just always been curious when other people discussed it. I feel like it's so mean for me to say that I disliked Lily and Lo. I disliked Lo more than I disliked Lily. I'll say that. And I didn't even strongly dislike Lily. It's just that she frustrated me so much. But then at the end of the day, I can't experience what they're going through. Like, I don't have any of their addictions. So I can't really know what's going on in their heads, but like sometimes they would just come off as so selfish to their families and their friends, and they would just blow off certain things that were happening just because of their addictions. And again, I feel like that's so mean for me to say, because how would I ever be able to know like what they're feeling, what they're going through? But they did just come off as very selfish, and I just couldn't get behind them. I couldn't root for them, and I felt like they were very toxic for each other. I know it's a very controversial thing to say, because I know that a lot of people absolutely adore Lily and Lo, and I'm not saying that they had bad romantic moments. Like, they did have some very sweet moments, but their relationship did feel very heavily physical on both sides. I knew it was going to be heavily physical on Lily's side because of her addiction, but I didn't expect it to feel the same way on Lo's side as well. And I just didn't like the way that he treated her and her addiction. I felt like he was just not benefiting her in that relationship and not doing things that he should have done. But I did absolutely adore the side characters. I love Rose and I love Connor like so much already. I'm gonna definitely continue with this series just to get to Rose and Connor. I love Reich so much. his character was just such an amazing addition to this book, and I'm so happy that we got introduced to him and to Rose and to Connor in this book, because if we hadn't, then I don't know if I would be continuing this series, to be perfectly honest. Another thing that I do want to clarify, which is probably obvious, is that this book is spicy. I would give it the free peppers sign for spice, that level of spice, which I think is to be expected because Lily, the main character, is a spice addict. So just know that going into it. I would say that it's not particularly easy to skip, because even if a spice scene isn't happening, you're going to be in the POV of Lily's mind, where she's going to be thinking about these very spicy scenarios. So I would say that if you are not a spiced girly, then you definitely should not probably read this, because it's going to be really hard to like skip past the things that she's thinking and then actual spice scenes. But I would say that this is not a bad book at all. I think that it was just a weak introduction to what is probably going to be an amazing series. And I did have a good time reading this. I thought that the writing was very emotional at times. The ending made me almost cry. So that is a good sign that it did make me feel emotional, and I'm excited to see if I will end up loving Lily and Lo's characters in future books in the series. I ended up giving Addicted to You a 3.5 out of 5. I just, it definitely was not anywhere near close to a 4 or 5-star read. Definitely nowhere near close to touching some of my 6-star reads. But I'm happy that I read this. I'm very open to continuing the rest of the series. I'm not just open to continuing the rest of the series. I will 100% be reading the other books. And I'm open to Lily and Lo changing my mind, and hopefully I will love their characters someday. And this is a good rating, actually. It is, because this book was not a bad book at all. It just didn't click for me, but I'm excited to see what the other books have to offer. The last book that I decided to read for this week's video was Mr. Wrong Number, written by Lynn Painter. I love her. I love her books. Better Than the Movies is a 6-star read for me. I adore Better Than the Movies. Betting on You and The Do-Over are both 4.75s for me. I love those books so much. And all of those other books are YA romances. This is her very first adult romance, and I was very, very curious to see how I would enjoy one of her adult rom-coms. So this follows our main character, Olivia Marshall, and she just has such bad luck in life. Like, she's such a klutz, and bad luck just seems to really follow her everywhere. She has a very awful breakup with her boyfriend, and this leads to her having to move in with her brother, and her brother has a roommate, Colin Beck, who she has known for some years now, and they've always kind of had this witty banter, dislike relationship with each other. Colin has always seen Olivia as his best friend's annoying little sister, and she's always found Colin to be very just rude. But she does start this texting relationship with someone, Mr. Wrong Number, and she has no idea who this is. And while she's making this texting relationship with Mr. Wrong Number, she's also starting to kind of see a new side to Colin, and he's starting to be very kind to her, and so she's kind of having that situation unfold as well while she's texting Mr. Wrong Number. Gee, I wonder who Mr. Wrong Number could possibly be. And that's pretty much the synopsis of the book. I there's no way to sugarcoat it. I really, really disliked this book. I was about to say I hated it, but that just feels way too harsh, because like, there are books that I actually hate, and this doesn't really fit into that category, but I did strongly dislike this book, and I was shocked, and it hurt so much to dislike this book, because I usually adore Lynn Painter's writing, and I think that the issue with this book for me was that it just felt so incredibly just physical attraction based. It just felt very insta attraction. It felt very lusty, like it didn't feel like a lovey lovey-dovey book. Like, there were no moments that I can go back to and pinpoint, oh, that's a very deep, meaningful conversation that they had, or I can see where they started to fall in love with each other. That makes sense. Like, no, like, there was none of that. It was just a really big letdown for me, especially since this book is like the closest I got to reading enemies to lovers. I wouldn't classify it as enemies to lovers because they more so just had like a frenemies, witty banter relationship. Like, I wouldn't say that they absolutely like hated each other. I think that they just had like a mutual dislike for each other before they got to know each other a little bit better. But one of the reasons that I think this book just missed the mark for me is that it was Lynn's first adult romance. And I think that she was having fun exploring certain themes that she can't explore in YA romance, because YA romance is no spice. It's not super like spicy material. So I think that she was having fun being able to put that into her first adult romance book. And I think that she missed writing the emotional connection between the two characters. And I will say that the main character, Olivia, was just so awful. Like, I hated her. Like, she was so rude. There's something I want to say that she does, but I think it's like a minor spoiler. But it involves her wasting someone else's products. And I just really disliked this person. Like, I always didn't think that it was possible for Lynn to write an unlikable FMC, but here we are with Olivia Marshall, who's just ugh. And then the main guy, Colin, I didn't dislike him, but he just felt so bland to me. Like, he felt like the perfect guy on paper, but he just felt really boring and bland to me. Like, there was nothing about him that stuck out to me. There was just nothing about his personality that made me like swoon over him or think that he was different than other book boyfriends that I've read about. He just didn't stand out to me, and that was sad as well. And there were no really interesting side characters either. There was just nothing there that made me interested in this book. And I'll be honest, like, this book almost put me in a slump. And I'll be honest, it took me way longer than a week to even get through this book. It took me like 5 extra days, but I wanted to finish it for this video. But yeah, it just really upset me, and I felt so bad for not liking this book. But I do think, and I still am open to reading her other adult romances. I do want to read The Love Wager, which does follow a side character from this book. And I do want to read her new release, Happily Never After. And I'm open to reading those for sure. But I do personally think that for now, I would say that her YA romances are better, because I feel like she focuses more on doing the emotional connection in those books, and you can feel the physical attraction between her YA couples in those books as well, but it feels like a very good balance of emotional and physical in the YA books that she writes versus the adult ones. But I'm very happy that I finally read this and that I got to see if it lived up to my hype, and it unfortunately did not. But you just sometimes have to read these books for yourself and make your own deduction on if they're good books for you or not. And I'm happy that this one is finally off my TBR. I ended up giving this a 2 out of 5, which is a bad rating for sure, but I just couldn't rate it any higher than this. It was just so forgettable, it was just not a good romance book in my opinion. So 2 out of 5 for sure. I definitely did not expect to give it this rating, but again, I'm still very open to reading The Love Wager and Happily Never After, and hopefully those books will be better than this one. Thank you guys so much for watching or even just clicking on this video. I'm still just so excited to have my own Booktube channel where I get to just talk about books, which is my favorite thing ever. And I had so much fun reading romance books for a week and seeing which ones I loved, which ones I didn't love. And I'm thinking about making this a whole series called the Rom-Com Diaries, where I maybe read like 3 to 5 romance books and then I just recap them all for you guys and share my opinions on these books. So let me know if that's something that you want me to continue in the future. And again, just thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know which romance book is your favorite book of all time. If I haven't read it yet, then maybe I can include it in a video someday. And just thank you again for watching. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in another video very soon. And as always, happy reading.